science part of the course as well. And again, it's all undergraduate right the way through to postgraduate work. So all the courses that we offer at NUI come from undergraduate, BScs, BAs, BEngs, all that type of thing, right the way through to MScs, MPhils, PhDs. So you can do everything, all the way through from undergraduate, right the way through to your PhD. And we do postdoctoral work as well. So that's the area that we have there. Is there anything that I said up to now that anyone hasn't understood, or is there anything that you would like me to clarify on what I've just been speaking about? Okay? Alright, well what I'll go on to now is I'll go on to explain to you what the scholarships that we've agreed with SUPEM's firm here for Sri Lankan students involved. Now, normally if you come to study in the UK, you would be expected to pay anything from £10,000. I'll speak in English money because I'm not acquainted with the Sri Lankan rupee, so I'll speak in English pounds. So you can spend from anything up from £10,000 upwards to £15,000 to study for a postgraduate degree in the UK. Okay? Now, a postgraduate degree in the UK lasts for 1 year. An MSc or an MA or an MBA, normally in the UK, lasts for 1 year. When normally in India and essentially Sri Lanka, it's 2 years. Okay? So it's a 2-year course in Sri Lanka, but in the UK, it's a 1-year course. What is the main, why students ask me, is it a 1-year course in the UK and a 2-year course in Sri Lanka? And similarly for undergraduate courses. If you do a BSc, or BTech, or a BA in India or Sri Lanka, it normally would take you 4 years. In the UK, an undergraduate, a bachelor's course takes 3 years. Okay? So you can see that there is 1 year difference between the UK system and the Indian and Sri Lankan systems. And again, the students say, why? Why do we only do 1 year less than ourselves? And the reason for that is what we call autonomy. Okay? That is the big difference between the British system and the Indian and Sri Lankan system, is that we expect students to do more work outside of the courses than they do inside. So what we do is we don't spoon feed you. And normally in the systems that you would be used to, whether it's in college, university or school, you are there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes you do Saturday mornings as well. In some places you have to do that. And you're given work. You work, and you're writing and writing and writing and writing. The British system used to be like that many years ago. I came through that system, okay? And I can remember being in college from 9 o'clock on a Monday morning till 7 o'clock on a Friday evening, okay? And so I know exactly what you've been through. But it's changed over the years, and the reason that it's changed is that it's mainly been driven by industry, the professions. We've been producing very good graduates. You can get a graduate and he can come in, he can sit on the chair, and you can give him a problem, and he can go through it, and he can solve the problem on paper. What they can't do is apply that practically to solving a problem in real life, on the shop, in the factory, or whatever it is. Because they're not used to being given freedom. And the industry have decided that they wanted to have students who could come in and do the job straight away, instead of taking a student in and training them. As you know as well as I do, that in today's world, time equals money. Okay? And industry doesn't like to pay out any more money than it needs to. So therefore they want to to get someone in who can start the job straight away, rather than training them, sending them on courses. Because when I came out of my university course, I was away for 6 months. I was never in work. I was on a course, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So we now give students more autonomy. We give them a lot of work which is work-related, case studies, where they have to go away. We give them the information in the course, and then they go away and they research, and they have to work it out for themselves. And that's why we can reduce the time from 4 years to 3 years for undergraduate work, or from 2 years to 1 year for postgraduates, MScs or MBAs, is that we expect you to do a lot more work outside of the classroom. And that's why we give you a lot of time devoted to this. Any questions on the reasons for the two differences in the year, the differences in the time scales? Does everyone understand that, yeah? Is that okay? If you don't understand, please don't hesitate to, because if you don't understand, you can bet your life that somebody else sitting by you doesn't understand. Is that okay? Is that right? Alright. Now then, normally we expect you to do a minimum of, I'll talk about undergraduate and postgraduates. Normally we would expect you to do a minimum of 17 to 18 hours a week in class. This is for undergraduate, for BScs, BAs, BEngs. Okay, so 17 hours in class, that's lectures and tutorials. Right? The rest of the time is not for you to go and lie in bed and drink tea, okay, go out to the discos and things like that. That time is for you to do work. Work in the library, come and see the tutors, talk with your other fellow students, finish your case studies, do your assignment work, and things like that. So that's around about 17 hours for undergraduate study. In your final year of undergraduate study, you would only be expected to attend lectures and classes for about 9 hours a week. Again, because it's the final year, you will be spending a lot of time doing your assignments, project work, and things like that, presentations. So that's the area that you would do in the undergraduate. On the postgraduate side, we expect you to be very grown up now. Okay? We expect you to be very grown up indeed, and you would probably only be expected to do 6 hours a week contact in class with the MSc. The rest of the time, you would be expected to be in the library, in the laboratories, doing tests, and having meetings with your tutors. Okay? So that is the MSc type of thing. And that would go for the MBA as well. The MBA, you would be doing about 6 or 7 hours contact, and the rest of the time is doing more and more research work. Because that's what an MSc is about. That's what a Master's is all about. A Master's is really a stepping stone to becoming a PhD. Right? So we expect you to be able to research and be able to work autonomously. Just that little bit more above an undergraduate. Now, normally we would expect you to pay in the UK system between £8,000 to £10,000 for a master's course. We were just talking this morning, and Suprema showed me an extract from a speech given by British Prime Minister Tony Blair about international cooperation. Because I can understand students saying, well, why do NUI, why does the University of Wales give Indian and Sri Lankan students a bursary or a scholarship to come and study in the UK? And that's a very good question. It's a very good, a very, very sensible question to ask. Why should we give you extra money or reduce our fees for you to come to study with us? And one of the reasons is that because we are a small university compared to some of the big universities, I mean, NUI has about 7,000 students. That's the size of the student population that we have in Newey. And some of that students are not full-time, they are part-time. They work in industry, and then 2 days a week they come into the university and they do their degree courses. When you compare it with some of the big universities, for argument's sake, one of the biggest universities in the UK is Manchester universities. There you have things like 60,000 students. Now if you think about that, 60,000 students compared to 7,000 students, we're a small fish. We're very, very small. And one of the reasons that we need to do is grow. We need to grow not so much British students, but we need to grow on an international basis. And this is the idea that Tony Blair gave in his speech, is that we now in Britain need to become more international. We need to bring in more international students into the British education system, because one of the things that you are aware of now is that you can virtually work in India or Sri Lanka or China, and then in a year's time you can take your skills that you've learned in your country and you can move to the UK, you can move to America, Australia, South Africa, Germany, anywhere, and work there for a number of years. Then after 2 or 3 years there, you can move somewhere else. Okay? It's this global economy where you're not tied to your own country. And this is one of the things that we in Britain are now realising, that we need to be able to get students in from other countries, because one of the things that we're finding is that we're not producing enough graduates in the UK to satisfy our needs. Okay? We're not producing enough graduates in the UK to satisfy our needs. So therefore we need to bring in more international students. And this is one of the reasons that we're prepared to give this scholarship to India and now to the Sri Lankan through SUPEM and his association to the Sri Lankan students. The scholarship would normally cover all your accommodation fees. One of the biggest complaints that we have from students when they come, international students, well, and British students, when they come to the UK, is the cost of accommodation. The cost of accommodation in the UK, if anybody's been to the UK and stayed in a hotel, or for something like that, it's very, very expensive. It's even expensive for us. Right? So it's even more expensive for yourself. So we find accommodation is very expensive. So therefore, what we've effectively done, the scholarship that we provide, enables you to have free accommodation in the halls of residence at Newey. Now unfortunately we haven't got a projector here, but I've given SUPEM some DVDs, and that actually shows the accommodation that we offer on campus. You don't have to go away, you're actually in the university itself. And the accommodation comprises of your individual room, toilet, shower, central heating. You need central heating in the UK, alright, because sometimes even in the summer it's quite cold. Alright, so you do need to have central heating. You have a desk, table, a bed, obviously you need a bed, and you have internet and television connection all in your room. You share a kitchen with 6 other students, so we have a block of 6 rooms and 1 kitchen for each of the blocks that we have. There is a special security code, so you and your people who are in that block know that code, so you can go in and it's very, very safe. So it's a building within a building, if you understand what I mean. And there are security guards on site, so they're controlling all the time, so you have no problem there whatsoever. And literally with coming outside of your room, and within 1 minute, you're actually in the university. So there's no excuse for being late. You can't say that the bus was late or the taxi didn't turn up or something like that. So that's the situation that we have. The scholarship also covers things like books. If you need books for your course, the scholarship will enable you to have books provided for your particular part of the course as well. Okay? So it's effectively the scholarship will cover your accommodation, your books, any fees that we have to pay to what we call the University of Wales to get you registered on your course, and incidentals like that. What it doesn't cover are things like the food, obviously. If you do decide to come to the Britain, whether you decide to come to study in Newey or anywhere else, you really should consider that it would cost you about £30 to £40 a week for food. Okay? It may cost less, but that's what you really should budget on for food. About £30 is reasonable. Any questions up to now? Is any questions on what I've just said at the present time? I'm not used to the heat, so I'll have to take a drink of water. There's also, Sue has just reminded me as well, part of the scholarship is a welcome package which enables you to settle down in the university, and we will take you on tours of the area, show you the various things that are going on. Wales is a very beautiful part of the country, and we're in what we call the National Park. So within 10 to 15 minutes of the university, you're actually in the National Park, which is a very beautiful part of the United Kingdom. So we have this welcome package that's given to you as well. There is also an international office. My colleague who normally comes with me, but is not here today, is part of what we call the international office. And when you arrive, you will be given a mentor, or what I like to call an Uncle Joe, who you can go to if you have any problems whatsoever, and they will help you settle down, settle the problems. If you need to get in touch with your family back home or anything like that, they will there virtually 24 hours a day to help you out. So we have somebody there at all times who will be an uncle to you, if you like, while you're at Newey. And it's a very good system. She is, although I call her an uncle, she's actually a lady, all right? And she's a very, very nice person, very, very committed to the students, and will have no problems if you decide to come and you can speak to her. The scholarship that we talked about covers both undergraduate and postgraduate studies. Now then, the scholarship, however, only lasts for 1 year. So if you decide that you want to do an undergraduate program, and you've already done an Indian degree, normally you would go into the 3rd year of the BA course, the BSc, or the BEng course. So if you've already done an Indian degree, but you want to study in the UK, okay, there are 2 options. If you want to do an undergraduate course, you can go into the undergraduate course, the BA, the BEngs or whatsoever. Or, if you're interested in doing a Masters, you can go into the Masters. Some students, for some reason, sometimes don't want to do Masters. Why, I don't know. But they want to do another degree. So instead of having a degree in engineering, then doing a Masters in engineering, or doing a degree in history, and then doing a Masters in history, sometimes they want to change course and do a degree in social work. So they may have a degree in BSc in social work, but they decide that they'd also want to do a degree in history. So the degree that they did in India would allow them to do 1 year in Britain to do social work degree, if that would be the case. But normally we're talking about postgraduate work. So the scholarship will allow you to study for 1 year, gain your Masters, the taught part of the course, but then you would have to do the dissertation. Now what we've agreed with the university back in Wales is that you do all your taught course, all the examined courses in Wales. Okay, so we do that all in Wales. The dissertation, which is the big project at the end of a master's course, you can do that back in India or Sri Lanka. So you can come home to Sri Lanka and you can finish off your course and you have 1 year to write your dissertation. Okay? So you have, when you finish in May, your exams, you can then come back to Sri Lanka and finish the written part, the dissertation, in Sri Lanka. Now, for you to do that, we have to do two things. First of all, we have to ensure that we can have access to you via email, telephone, or in some cases video conferencing if it's possible. So we have to make sure that we can have that. Two, we have to ensure that we have a tutor back in the UK that we can discuss things with. And the third thing is that we have to find out somebody in Sri Lanka, in one of the universities in Sri Lanka, that we can discuss with to see if they would be prepared to be a tutor for you here. That would be our problem, not yours. So we would sort that out from Britain, not. So it's nothing to do with you. So those are the three things. So you would come to Britain, you would do all the taught course. Now, the Masters comprises of sometimes exams and sometimes assignment work. Now, normally if you do a taught Masters course, the taught Masters course would be 6 modules. Okay, so there are 6 areas that you have to do. If you do engineering, there are 3 exams and 3 fully assessed modules. Okay? So you only have to do 3 exams either at Christmas or in the May,